Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bonsoir à tous. Bienvenue dans le prochain épisode de Shaherald Nightlife. Ce soir, je voudrais inviter Frère Bilal, un musulman français converti de Singapour. Excusez-moi. Bonjour. Désolé. Ce spectacle est public anglais? Oui, oui, oui. Merci, merci. Apologies. I thought for a moment we were doing a broadcast in France, but apparently it's an English broadcast in Singapore. So I hope. Welcome to Shaherald Nightlife episode 10. Bilal meets Bilal post Revert stories. La French Connexion. Okay, let me bring in the panelists right now. Sorry, I'm really trying my best not to laugh. Okay, how did what happened? I think the thing was hanging. Okay, how did my French go so far, brother Bilal?
Walaikum salam, bro. Yeah, I mean that's clearly understood. No problem. And thanks for putting the effort here. I mean, very clear, very clear. You can survive in France.
Merci. Okay. Okay. Without much further ado, guys, tonight, episode 10. We would like to invite two very interesting. We invite these two panelists. One is Brother Bilal. He previously was formerly a Christian before he embraced Islam. He's a French national before, and now he's living in Singapore. He's married happily with two children to our famous local actress, Nadia M. Din. So Brother Bilal here tonight will be sharing also his story a bit about his past, how he came to embrace Islam, the challenges he's faced along the way, and eventually how he took on the volunteering spirit in Singapore, so to help the French Muslims here in Singapore. So besides that, also we'll invite Ustad Hafiz. Ustad Hafiz is known to do a couple of live adhan in the mosque here, a couple of mosques here in Singapore, and so we would like him to share about his expertise also in the adhan. And inshallah, tonight we'll have a surprise for you at the end of the whole episode. So on the far right, you can see it's Brother Bilal. On the top right, we'll put him in the front here. Brother Bilal, Assalamu alaikum, welcome.
Walaikum salam. Bismillah. How are you, brother? How are you, brothers?
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, Alhamdulillah, all
Good,
good.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you for
And
inviting me. I appreciate that.
thank you so much. Okay, before you start your story, I'll also show who is the Brother Hafiz. Okay, so next is Brother Hafiz. Yeah, Ustad. Yeah. And Brother Hafiz at the below we have is Brother Iskander here from the Netherlands. Oh, what happened is his microphone is not working today. So yeah, he will be asking questions, posting questions to me, and I will help him ask those questions. Okay, so without much further ado, Brother Bilal, please share with us, before we begin, I'd like to ask you, is it le French Connection, or is it la French Connection? Le or la?
La French Connection.
La. Okay,
Yeah,
why la?
that's a very tough question. Even I cannot answer that. Do you know that in French language we have gender for anything? So even connection in French is like she, it's like feminine, which
Oh.
might not make sense at all. It doesn't
Mhm.
make sense to me, but it is like that. So if you want to know le or la, you just have to learn by heart. There is no explanation to that. So it's la
Okay.
French Connection.
Oh, La French Connection. Okay, merci, merci. Okay, so Brother Bilal, please proceed. Share us how you came to embrace Islam.
Sure, Alhamdulillah. Okay, I'll try to do the shorter version this time because I'm cautious about time and there's a lot of things to share. So, how I came to the world of Islam was related to firstly childhood. This is how it started. I grew up in France, and as most of you know, the Muslim population in France is very extended. There is a very large number of Muslims, most likely from coming from Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, what we call the Maghreb region, and some other parts of Africa more down South Africa. And well, the fact of the matter is that I grew up with friends in school that were Muslims, so I was exposed very early to some of the practices that they have. And then one of the trigger was when I got invited to my friend's place, who is my best friend. His name is Khalid. He actually lives in Singapore. He's French Moroccan. When I went to his house, I was very surprised to see that his family really like treated me like a king. They really like cook their best food, a lot of food, a lot of food. That was way too much, but that was absolutely very kind, and they really like put the best effort to make me feel, like a very special person. And it's not that they had like extra means to do that. They were quite a humble and modest family, and I really respect Islam for that. In terms of it's a lot of sharing and giving and the charity and the brotherhood. So that's something that early in my childhood really uh, brought me to like and enjoy the Islamic values. But moving forward, a lot of things happened in my life. So when I moved to UK, I actually met some Muslims there. So I started to live overseas for an internship, and then I moved to Birmingham. Birmingham in UK is the second city, and there is a very large population of South Asian, including Pakistani and Bangladeshi. So there is a lot of Muslims, a lot really. And the thing is, I met some Muslims from different parts of the world, from Egypt, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh. One of my best friends there was from Pakistan, and some of my friends later were from Egypt. And the fact in the matter is that every time I used to meet with them, they were always like very generous, treat me like a brother. They knew I was alone there, and they really wanted to take care of me. They took me out for activities, invited me to their house. They were really treating me like a brother, so I really, really appreciated that. To the fact that my Pakistani friend even was so generous that sometimes I could just call him and say, "Hey, I need help now." No matter what time it is, he would just come and say, "Okay, how can I help you?" Or even one time, he was wearing a very nice watch, quite expensive watch. I still remember that day. I was eating with him. I said, "Wow, bro, your watch is very nice." Say, "You like it? Just take it." I was like, "No." Say, "Yeah, yeah, I just give it to you." And I was really shocked because that's not something that you encounter every day, right? That kind of generosity. And he did share with me that as Muslims, this is what they are supposed to do. The Egyptians as well, so they were public workers, construction workers, like what we have in Singapore, right? And I was working in a hotel, and there were guests there. And during Christmas Day, as I didn't go back home, I stayed in Birmingham. I bought a box of chocolate because I knew they were quite lonely. So I knocked their door, gave them the food and everything. And then they were quite touched and surprised to see that coming from me. So they told me to stay in their room, and they brought more food. And one of the brother took my address, and he said, "I'm going back to Cairo soon. I need your address because I want to send you some gifts." So I was like, okay, I gave him my address in Birmingham, etc. He went back home. A few weeks down the road, I received a parcel at the place where I was staying, and in the box there was a songkok, there was a jelaba, there was tasbih, a lot of things related to Islam. And I mean, to be honest, right? This guy doesn't even know me much. And, I mean, sending a parcel back then from Cairo to UK, not forgetting about it, etc. And, he might not be the richest person in the world, whatsoever it is. He put the effort and everything. And I received that from him. I was absolutely touched. I was wearing the songkok at home, even though I was not a Muslim. I found like it's very comfortable. I was wearing jalaba as well. It's very nice, right? Very cool and all. The tasbih, well, I didn't know what to do with it. Put it in the corner nicely. I didn't really touch it, but I think those were signs. So when I moved into Singapore, I actually met my wife, and before even meeting her, when I first came, the first week I was in Singapore, I did a tour of Singapore, and I went to the Masjid Jami Chulia at Chinatown. And the thing is that I just wanted to visit. I did the Chinese temple. I went to the Hindu temple. Then there's a masjid, right? So I went to the masjid, and then this brother who was a volunteer really took me for a tour. Very good dahwa, gave me like a pamphlet to read, explained to me a lot of things, and I was actually uh, very touched by how hospitable he was, and he took the time to explain to me many things. And I was like, wow, really, this is very good. So that really stayed in my mind. When my best friend went back to France, he couldn't bring everything with him. So he actually said, I have to leave some stuff with you in Singapore. And one of the things that he left was a French Quran that he got in Darul Arqam when he witnessed one of his friends becoming a convert. So he took that French Quran and say, I want you to keep it. So I kept it with me. So in my house, then I had French Quran, the Tasbih, Jilaba, Songkok. I was not a Muslim yet. Can you imagine? And then I met my wife finally, and we put things quickly on the table. She did say that if you want to marry me, you have to become a Muslim. And I'm quite open-minded, so I was like, why not? And she said, why don't you learn more about it? Her approach of introducing Islam was actually nothing to do with halal, haram, none of this. It was purely love, good manners, charity, generosity. Our entire family was like that. So I was really molded by those values that I found absolutely beautiful. So this really attracted me already to go into that path and get that trust. Then when I went to Darul, of course, I studied more. I went for solar class. I felt very awake and very how to say, the spirituality and listening to the Quran and all of this, and being in a very quiet place. I was really captivated by this, and because I have a very good relationship with the teacher, I felt like I need to study, and it was like a common exchange. And Ustaz Samir took the time to, after class, even spend time with me to explain to me more things, and I was very curious. And at the same time, I spoke to Ustaz Mizi as well, Mizi Wahid, and those were the very crazy questions that I had that typically future converts have before converting, about Islam, about doubts that they have, etc. So it really helped me to clarify those doubts. So alhamdulillah, I started to fast. I started to do whatever I had to do in advance, and then I felt the need to convert on my own because I felt I was already a Muslim, and it was a very natural pathway. Nobody forced me. It was just my decision. I thought that was the right thing to do. Yeah.
MashaAllah, such a beautiful story. Guess what? Ustad Saifur Rahman was also the register for both of me and Brother Bilal here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's one thing we have share in common, the same
Yes.
register, Darul Akam. Yes. Okay, so Brother Bilal, next question that I asked you, like, why you choose the name Bilal? I mean, is there significance to this name?
Yeah, so it's very bizarre actually.
Mhm.
Because before I was a convert, so I converted in 2015. In 2011, I went to Sumatra. I went to one of the kampong there, and typical trip to see the orangutan and all of this, being in, put the tent near to the river, a very cool trip, rafting and all. So when I went there, the people from the village, they could not pronounce my name. So they were asking me to have like to choose a Muslim name. So I was like, Muslim name. I was like, and the first thing that came to my mind, I don't know why, I thought about this guy from school. His name was Bilal, and I say, call me Bilal. So for a few days, his brother, was calling me Bilal. So, that was quite, it was already like as if I was Bilal, right? And I enjoyed it. So when I had to choose a name during conversion, I just thought like I would just take Bilal and that's it. But the amazing thing is that I didn't know who this Bilal was, Bilal in Rabah. And the thing is, when I told my family, I want to be called Bilal, and then, sometimes they think like, oh, why you want Bilal? I mean, it's like the common name of calling someone like, hey, you Bilal, you Bilal. So they were a bit like, are you sure you want to have that name or not? But I told them, actually, it's a misconception because he's Muizin, right? And it's just that, we call people who make the azan Bilal, but it's just actually referring to the person who was nominated to do the call of the azan back in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time. So when I actually look into Bilal's biography, I was like, wow, that carries weight. He was the one who was selected to do the azan for everyone. And what I really love about him is not just this. What I love the most is he was a slave, and his faith was extremely strong. even when he was tortured to death, and they were asking him to renounce his religion. He said no, la ilaha illallah, and he was really strong in his faith, and he never gave up because he knew that he could put his trust in Allah and that nothing could happen to him because he would be protected. So in that sense, I was like, yes, I choose that name.
Oh, mashallah. That's a very, very good name and context that you gave to why you chose that name. I'm just curious, okay, from since now we have also Ustad Hafiz here. Curious, what would Ustad Hafiz can add, to Bilal story a bit, since you have a bit of the knowledge behind this.
Oh, mashallah. Right. Firstly, أعوذ من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you, Harold Firdaus Shah. Thank you, Guillaume Bilal Jean-Pierre. That's how you pronounce his name, Guillaume. Right?
Oh, very clear. MashaAllah.
Yeah, so yeah, nice, mashallah, very inspiring story. Right? I totally enjoyed that. Although I've known you before, right? But to hear this story, right, in full like that was very inspiring. Right? Yeah, thank you for also talking about this character. Right? He's not just any Bilal. He is that was the Bilal we're talking about. Right? Bilal ibn Rabah was he was born to an African mother and one parent was African, one parent was Arab actually. So he's actually half Arab, half African, right? So, but he was born into slavery because both his parents were slaves, were taken from Abyssinia, which is what is now East Africa, right? What is now Eritrea and Ethiopia, across the Red Sea to serve as slaves in Mecca. So Bilal was born in Mecca. Despite his African roots, he was born in Mecca. So of course he was born into slavery. When he was old enough to become a slave, he became a slave, right? So he was given to a master who was very cruel towards him because the master got to know that this Bilal had already worshipped the god of Muhammad, right? That means he would, every time there is some procession or ceremony, he would kind of, in Hokkien we call it siam. He would siam and just go somewhere, So the employer found out, right? And summoned him and asked him, is it true that Bilal, is it true that you're worshipping the god of Muhammad? Right? And he said it's true. So as a slave, he's supposed to listen to the master's commands, but he refused, right? He kept saying Allah is one, ahad, 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 right? So of course he was subject to punishment, right? He was dragged across town, right, on horses, right? That he kept saying ahad, ahad, ahad. That means if he were to just say I accept this religion, he would have been okay, but he kept saying Allah is one, so he refused, right? So inflicted even bigger punishment, right? They put a rock on his chest, press it down, he was suffocating, and eventually he passed out. When he regained his senses, that's where he saw the face of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Who told him, "Do not worry, it will be okay." So, as we know, our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not someone blessed with a lot of resources, but he asked his very good companion Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu an to buy over Bilal. Right? So they got into so Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu an and the ex-master, this time you call it ex-master, had a quick negotiation session, right? Over 9 gold coins he was sold, right? Then the ex-master said to made a remark, what a fool this guy is, this Sayyidina Abu Bakr, what a fool he is. I would have sold this guy for just 1 gold coin because his ego was, you're a master, your slave won't listen to you, right? Right? He said, I would have sold this guy for just 1 gold coin, right? And Sayyidina Abu Bakr remarked that if I had to buy him over for 100 gold coins, I would have bought him. Right? So you're talking about elasticity in economics. He could have been sold for 1 gold coin, he could have been sold for 100 gold coins, but he was sold for 9 gold coins for the purpose of being freed. That's where the Prophet freed Bilal, and therefore the Prophet loved Bilal so much and always asked him to do the adhan. Right? The Prophet also asked him, "Yeah, Bilal, what is it about you that I could hear during the Prophet's journey during Mi'raj, that he could hear Bilal's sandals? Slaves would wear footwear that can make sound so that the employer knows where they are, right? So the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him said that I heard your sandals up in paradise, right? Bilal's answer was, I have not done anything special except for the fact that without fail, after every wudu, I will perform without fail 2 raka'ah salah sunnah wudu. By virtue of that, the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him had heard Bilal's sandals in paradise. Yeah.
Wow. That's such an amazing story.
Yeah. One more thing just to add, since we talk about, Guillaume was talking about cultures, right, in France, in Africa, and so on and so forth. Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wasn't just a non-racist. He was an anti-racist because people love to give remarks on Bilal saying, hey, you son of an African. The fact is, he's also a son of an Arab. but they didn't call him that. They call you son of an African, right? That's where the
Oh,
Prophet said, okay, it's not your race that defines you; it's your piety that defines you.
wow.
Because also Bilal would, being, I mean, he was born in Mecca, but because of his African roots, he would speak, for example, Arabic with an African twang. So, for example, when he says "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah" in the adhan, right, the letter shin maybe in his mother tongue is not the
Uh,
same way they Arabic, right? And that's where the Prophet came in to say that do not tease him because no matter what, his adhan or his piety is still higher than yours.
Sorry, brother Hafiz, I think we lost you
Yes.
for a while. The
Mashallah.
internet
Okay.
cut you. I think the last sentence about the piety. But could you, sorry to repeat
Okay.
again?
Yeah, let me repeat that part. So the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him was an anti-racist because any remark done on Bilal, for example, hey, you son of an African, and then sometimes his Arabic was with a slight African twang, right? Certain things, for example, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Perhaps in his mother tongue there is no shin sound, right? So he couldn't pronounce it well. It became Ashhadu Allah or something. So they kind of, just like you meet someone who doesn't speak good English, sometimes you make fun of the person. In the same way, they make fun of his Arabic, right? That's why the Prophet came in to say that do not make fun of that because no matter what, his adhan, his piety are still better than yours.
Was he the first person who actually recite the adhan is also Bilal, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who are new here, who are not Muslims or who are interested to know more about Islam, you hear the call to prayer, you hear it from the mosque, when the muazzin do the azan, right? There was the time. Then that is where it all came from Bilal, who started to say the words for the azan. Yeah, mashallah. Thanks for sharing that, Ustad. Oh, just want to let everybody know Sister Risi is here. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for joining us.
Sorry for being late. The
No,
story of
it's okay.
Bilal is super interesting. Thanks for having me on the show.
Mashallah. Everything good, sister? Good? Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, everything is good. I just like moved into a new condo, and I'm just currently chilling with my 11-year-old sister. And because like my parents are kind of like gone for now, so it's just like I'm the only adult in the house, and I'm 20. So like it's almost like taking care of a kid, you know. Um, she wants to go to the arcade today, but like, uh, you know, kids are just adrenaline junkies.
Okay. That's good. Awesome. Okay, thanks. So you're babysitting your sister right now, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Brother Bilal, I'll bring you back on the stream here. Just want to check with you. Okay, next, I'd like to know more about your struggles as a French Muslim. What I understand in France alone, there's not a very majority Muslim country, and recently they also something like they banned the hijab in France and all that. So it must be very hard for you to be a Muslim there. I'm guessing. So was it hard for you when you reverted?
I mean, that's a very good question. And the thing is that before I went back home on my first trip after I converted, I had some chats with some of the ustads here to get some tips on potential challenges that I might face when I will go and visit my family in France. So the thing is that Ustaz Said Salkaf did share with me that he said to me that Bilal, when you will go there, definitely that will be challenging, and if anybody is like trying to challenge you to be not so friendly to you or having bad reaction towards the fact that you are Muslim now, what you need to know to do is to ignore. You still need to respect them. They are still your family members, or they are still the people around you, and you just need to try to leave the situation. Or what you can do even better than that is, if they are not nice to you, try to smile and try to be even nicer to them. So, for example, if you encounter somebody who is really making bad comments on Islam, or you as a new Muslim, go and buy a gift for him and give it to him, and he will feel that he's in a situation where there's nothing much he can do, because to the bad remarks that he's throwing at you, you are going back with gifts and love. So I thought that was actually a very good advice, which I applied there because it happened to me actually. So I come from countryside, and drinking culture there is heavy, and it's really in the norms. It's very social, and the thing is that especially when I went to see some of my uncles, in remote areas, they always want to have a drink. Plus, I come from the wine region, Bordeaux, so as you can imagine. There is nothing without a drink. So when I went to my uncle's house, the first thing that he insisted to do was to give me a glass of whiskey. And the thing is that I didn't open up to my family there that I was a Muslim, and I told my mom to not really say about it. And I think he knew that I was. That's the reason why he was acting a little bit different, because usually we never do that. We'll talk and all, and then maybe we'll have a glass. But this time around, the glass came first, straight away. And I was like, sorry, I'm not gonna drink that. And he said, why is it so? I've not seen you for a long time. And I say, no, but actually I'm driving. and and he said, come on, you're driving, but you can still have one. I said, no, I don't feel like it. And then he started to be a little bit angry. And I thought like, ooh, that's not good, because my dad was with me, and I was kind of uh, trapped into a situation where it's very hard to escape, because it's the first time I see him. I have to respect him, and he's my uncle somehow. But at the same time, I don't want to stir trouble, or I don't want to create, tension. So what should I do? So what I said to my dad is, I just said, Dad, there is an emergency. Like, I look at my phone. Sorry, we just gotta go, and we just left. Yeah,
Oh,
because I could see that the situation was becoming a bit
not getting
unbearable, especially I was in his house. So I thought, I don't want to argue nothing, and I don't want to drink. So I just left. But the fact of the matter is this: I saw him again in a birthday party, and then of course he was looking at me, with a bit of a sour face, and even he saw me. He said, "Why don't you pray here? In front of the, there was like a dance floor or something. Why don't you go and pray here?" Like that kind of comments. So what I did was, I just keep quiet. I went to the buffet area. I take some nice food, the food that I know he likes. And then I brought it to his table. I said, "Hey, uncle, this is for you, and I gave him a kiss, a hug and a kiss." And he was like, he was really like surprised. And then since that day, he just became very nice to me. And he never asked me for any drinks, nothing. It was like back to normal. So you see, the tip that was shared with me was actually very, very useful, because that really saved me a lot. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, that was one of the challenges, just to name one.
I see. Wow, that's a very, I mean, that's like kind of like go against your natural human instinct, right? In the sense that people would, when they hurt you, you tend to rebuke back. Normal people would just like try to fight for their own freedom of words to say back at people, right? Especially when they're hurt or they're being affected. It's natural that we tend to argue back, try to prove that we're right. I think what you did was you went the opposite way. We show love, and that itself was the changing point, like a catalyst to help him see the light more than the darkness that he
Yeah,
thought he would
and
expect.
and just to add on to that, brother Ferdaus, this is amazing, because I've tried that with more people in my family, and hello, and this is what I realized when I was invited at my uncle and auntie's place. I went to different houses. They even went to the extent of cooking something just for me and my wife, which was to them halal, even though they don't know halal. They asked me, so what can you eat and all in advance. So everybody was having like, beef rib and all, very nice, right? But it was not halal. So my auntie made salmon for me, and it was so good, and it was even better than the rest of the guys. So they were looking at me like, "You lucky guy." Yeah?
You lucky
And
guy.
yeah, it's just amazing. I was extremely touched to see that they went to that extent of cooking something especially for me, even though without knowing Islam and all this. Mashallah.
Oh, mashallah. Well, people go all the way out seeing that you show so much love, and they would like to show back that love for you as well. I think that's a
Yeah.
very good advice, brother. Oh, today we have sister Reese's sister also on stream. Hi, welcome, Michelle. Assalamualaikum. Hello.
Hi.
All right. Yeah. So I hope you benefit tonight for tonight's session as well. Okay. So brother Bilal, what about challenges or struggles you have in Singapore? I mean, I don't think you should be having much in Singapore. It's like very multiracial and everything, right?
Yeah, I think Singapore, we're quite blessed for that. No problem at all, I would say, in my circumstance. But maybe I can, and Alhamdulillah, Shukor, I'm very, very grateful for all of this. But going around and meeting converts and new people to the faith, maybe I might want to share one aspect that I hope will change moving forward for many of those brothers or sisters is that what I've seen many times is that when somebody is going to the faith, they don't always get the support from their Muslim family.
Mm.
Nobody is teaching them about Islam. They're kind of left in a corner. They have no one to talk to. Sometimes they are a bit shy to go to Darul and meet friends. And when you meet them down the road after a few months, then you realize that they never pray. They never started, right? They went to the BCI class, they went to the Salat class and all at Darul. They kind of forgotten what they have learned. And I think sometimes I wish I could see, more of those families, giving love to those converts and trying to guide them, maybe if they can't, to someone that they know who might be able to help. I think that would be very useful because that saddens me to see that. And sometimes, they really want to grow in the religion, but it's just that they find a little bit of tension, or maybe their family is not aligned to the teaching from the institutions here, not the same kind of opinions. So those new converts are a bit lost, what to believe, everything's so different. They kind of feel like they are confused. And many times they tend to give up. So I think this is something where it's important that those people reach out to people like us, and they open up, and we try to be with them like family. I think that's very important. So it's just one aspect that I wanted to touch on because I think this is very important. The second aspect for more like Caucasian converts, I would say, is going back to old lifestyle, going back
Mm.
to old friends, going back to drinking, going back to the stuff we've done before. Even though we try to calm down for a while, many months, now we feel like we're okay. And then it's just enough for a phone call from a friend to say, I'm in town, not seen you for a while. Let's go for a drink. Then you start drinking, then you get that habit again. And then, it's very hard
Yeah.
to go back on track. So it's
Mm.
really about, I think, understanding Allah and His greatness and His attributes, and really ensuring that He's priority for you more than those things. Then maybe once you master that kind of knowledge, then you're able to see that He is all knowing. He sees me in everything that I do. He created me. He's giving me everything. Why is it that I should be doing that? It's not beneficial for me. So I think that's something that I also wanted to share, that I think is also a problem. But I guess you probably heard that type of stories many times.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. I mean, previously, like even for myself as a revert, right, we used to have things that we do, which is considered haram now, and those things are probably, when your friend call you out for a drink, it's quite a common thing, right? Like it's normal to go for social gatherings, and if they do not know you're Muslim, then they will naturally just ask you, how about a glass of wine or something. So I think that is also like, I mean, it's mentioned in the Quran that Allah was to test us even after you say you want to embrace Islam, and Allah say, don't think that we will stop testing you even after you have embraced Islam. So I guess this is a test of our faith and how much we truly believe in what we say, the shahada and all that. So yes, thank you so much, brother. I think we have a question here from sister Reezy. She's asking about alcohol intolerance. She's saying that maybe you can give them this excuse.
Yeah, maybe you can just say like you're alcohol intolerant. Like I actually realized like back when I used to drink, I'm actually kind of like alcohol intolerant, as in like my stomach would hurt like after a long time. So maybe you could just say something like that and just say like, oh, I've developed like intolerance to alcohol, my stomach hurts, or like I get diarrhea or something. I don't know. Like you can just say something like that. Perhaps not. That's just like something that I thought of because like it is poison, right? It does actually poison like your stomach. Your stomach has to process it, and it's actually like if you drink too much, you die. It's literally poison. So you can say like you're just very sensitive to the poison because like when people get older or something, that actually happens as well. I think alcohol intolerance is more common among Asian people, but I'm actually not too sure about that. But maybe that's just an idea that you could say.
But so, Brother Bilal, any thoughts on what she shared? The
No,
separate
you're
excuse.
right. No, it's good, and sometimes white lies, right? We have to apply because there are situations where you might meet someone who is a little bit aggressive, and if you were to go into the route where you tell him you are Muslim and you can't drink, so if you say that you're alcohol intolerant or something else, that might work better. You just save yourself. I always tend to be sincere and face the consequences. But I also understand our sister here because I've encountered people as such, and I still remember that I've said that before, and that helped me. So yeah, but nevertheless, I think it's also important not to be antisocial as well. So it's good to draw a line where we cannot be seen as a group that really don't participate in any gatherings whatsoever. I mean, I've encountered situations where my colleagues, they want to celebrate like a new deal. I do sales, so they ask me out. So they would choose a restaurant, but they will sell alcohol. But for me, there will be masala tea, and they will always order masala tea for me. I'll stay in my corner. I'll just stay, and I'll stay until if I were to see that they start to be a bit tipsy and drunk, maybe I'll make a move. But otherwise, I will hang out for a while. It's okay. In my circumstance, not everybody agrees with that. But yeah, anyway, it's like that.
Yes, I mean, I think it depends on the situation and the circumstances that we're in. I have a question here. One is, for example, if you are a born Muslim and you have a friend who's a non-Muslim, but because they might not know much about Islam, maybe they say, I booked a restaurant now, and you can join me for dinner. But they did know that the restaurant is serving things that are probably not halal. So, how do you respond to that? Could you give us some advice, Brother Bilal?
Yeah, so I've encountered situations like that, and there are two things that I've done. One was there was like a farewell party with work, and then the venue was picked. I was not aware of the venue, and there was an Italian restaurant, and what I ordered was salad. So I just had veggies. That's all. Full stop. Uh, Again, depending on each to each his own, as we say. Some people might not agree, but in another time, but again, you have to be careful when you do that. I think there was a Chinese place, and really was very hard to find food this time. Really, really hard. So I ordered food from outside. So there's a Grab driver who came at the restaurant. It was very weird though, and he kind of feel disrespectful in a way. So I was a bit shy, and I quickly went outside. I tried to hide a little bit, not to show that I'm having this food delivery. And then I went to the kitchen. I asked the guy to put in a plate, so it doesn't look like it's all takeaway food. And then I
Ah,
just went to eat. And people ask me, I say, yeah, I'm Muslim, but and I tried to be nice. I said, I respect and it's fine, but I really can't eat that. So and then they were understanding, but yeah.
yeah, I guess what you say is true. I myself face sometimes these awkward situations, right? They're quite awkward. I think that's why it's important for all of us, even whether it's another religion or another person with a different faith, we should understand at least what they believe in, right? And what they can or cannot do, so we will not cross those boundaries. I think what you did was probably the best, in my opinion, the best way to go about it, because you can't be rude. Also, if the person was your boss asking you for dinner, right, and you can't just say no, kind of thing. It will be quite rude in that sense. So I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, I what I do is like I upfront from the beginning of my employment, I really mentioned that I'm a Muslim. So Uh, so I have some like little requests, like Friday prayers. I always have to go, and if possible, you can cater halal food for me is good. If not, I'm fine. If I can bring in my own food, it's fine. As long as you don't feel awkward, me bringing my food there with you, it's fine. I'll join you for dinner too. So yeah, they are very nice. They are actually my bosses are all very good. They know how to understand this, because one thing is also in an international, Singapore is quite connected with different countries, right? So they should roughly know, especially Singaporeans. We all have Muslim brothers and sisters here, so it's quite easy for them to adapt to this. And mashallah, thank you so much for sharing that advice, brother. What about old friends? Did you lose any old friends after you become a Muslim?
Many, but it's okay. I gain Allah, so it's okay. The thing is, it's fine. Even if I were alone, we have Allah with us, right? So we are not alone. That's the thing, right? And I lost some, but for the better good. And I think Allah wanted to show me that they were not probably the best friends. Even though I am not in a position to criticize, I'm not perfect myself, right? But the thing is that maybe some of the habits were not the best. So it was probably better for me to refrain to meeting with them. Other people that I used to meet for drinks, probably met them after that for just playing sports. We change their habits, so we don't go drinking, but we play sports. I'll be there. That's all.
Mm,
But yeah, it feels weird. But I think as you grow up and you get older, it's about choices that you make in your life.
mm,
So I made those choices because I think just wanted to improve myself in becoming a Muslim. So you
mm,
have to make those tough choices anyway. But yeah, so far, alhamdulillah, this is not really big struggle, I would say. There's a lot worse than that.
mm, mm.
But I think that's a normal thing.
Yeah. I think, okay, because brother Iskander can't hear his voice because of his technical issues. He just want to share here that recently he just met his high school classmates 2 days ago, and they still couldn't believe he's a Muslim because he was a hardcore atheist. Yeah. So wait, let me see what he say here. What do you say? Vow of silence. Okay, he took a vow of silence today. So okay, my question next is how what would you advise what advice be for people who they really don't want to lose their friends, and maybe they're going through something like really tough right now. What can they do to overcome this feeling of loss? Like maybe it's an old childhood friend even. Of course, in our opinion, maybe it's not the best, because Allah has maybe felt that this person may not be on the same path with you. um, but how would you help the person overcome? What steps should the person take to overcome?
I think it's about priority because if they are your best friends, so called, they will understand you and respect you for any choice that you make. That's what I believe. So that's one thing. And then we'll always lose people along the way. I mean, if you look at the prophet stories, they've lost a lot of family members and friends, much more worse than what we're experiencing. Like Prophet Noah, when the boat and everything was sinking, and his wife and his son, and asked them to join, still trying to forgive them because they don't believe in Allah, but still they decided, no, 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 don't worry, we'll go and climb that mountain, we'll survive, but they never did. So they lost. Even the prophets, right? They lost their very, very close people, not even friends, family members, and I'm talking about wife here or son. So that's okay. I think for some of them, I've tried to explain, how Islam has benefited me and things like that.
Mhm.
Some of them are really not in religion. They thought like, okay, this guy is trying to preach something, so they decided to stop talking to me. But surprisingly, you will realize that some of the friends that were not very close friends to you before will end up being very good friends with you later. So this is
Mm,
actually very amazing because when you change people that maybe you even used to criticize, then they are very close to you, they help you, and then you see that there is many similarities that actually you have with them, and then you will start to become very close friends with them. So that's also another route. So uh, yeah, that's for me. Those are the things that I've experienced.
Mashallah, very beautifully said. I like how you reference the Prophet life. They are the best of us in terms of character and manners, and they're the best way to guide human towards the deen also. And you said they lost a lot of friends. It's true, like Noah. You said he was left with only his family. Some of even his own family is one of them. I think also didn't follow him and perished in the flood. So you can it's the people closest to you which you least expect to be like that, right? Would actually also some of them would lose even the close family member for the prophets as well. Very beautifully said. Thank you, brother. Next thing I want to ask, okay, now after you reverted to Islam, I saw that you also took on some volunteering work at Darul Akam. So share a bit more on what makes spur you to take this volunteering spirit, and maybe you can advise some reverts or so, if they maybe want to do something like that, should they do it?
Yeah, I think there was too many times that I got calls from counseling of Daul saying, I have this brother, he's from so and so country. Usually they will refer to me people who are from like they are Caucasians, most likely Europeans. And I mean, the thing is that culture plays a part. So I'm from there and I'm a convert. So, they were open to have a conversation with somebody who's from Europe as well. So, and I feel it's my duty also to go and help if I can. So I had circumstances where I met some of those new brothers, for a coffee session, and I, asked them, you can share anything with me, share the struggles that you have, anything you want to talk to me about, and then just to make them feel better. So it was people that just converted who had issues, or people who are not converting yet, but they were looking for it, and they had some things that they wanted to clarify in terms of Western culture related to Islam. So they wanted to ask me, how did I do it, and blah blah blah. So and because I got this kind of request, then I decided to do a bit more. So when Sister Mariam Vin from Daul reached out to me, she was handling what you call the MNC Euro group, which is actually not Euro group, is more like a Caucasian group, I would say, because there is American, there is Australians, and so I decided to think about it and say, yeah, why not? So then we do activities for our group, and we try to bring more people. So that was the purpose. And yeah, we organize sessions where we meet up, we share issues, social gatherings, we do like Islamic talks around it. Of course, with COVID is a bit more difficult because you cannot really meet up, and Europeans, they love to meet up. This is the thing, right? They love to meet up physically. So you have to really change the entire process of doing so. But yeah, I think it's important to help, full stop. And I'm sure, Brother Hafiz here would agree with that. And I guess he has probably a lot more stories to share.
Yeah,
Right.
speaking of brother Hafiz, how did you meet brother Hafiz?
Oh, well, I met him at Dawood as well, Dawood Akam, so the Muslim Conversation of Singapore. And there was a time where during Ramadan, they would look for converts to help on, volunteering, any types of activities, and so they will ask people to host some talks or do like adhan, or do like cleaning after the iftar and many things like that. So I was definitely not qualified to do the Bilal for Trawe prayer, not qualified for that, even though, we look into the text, and I was like, sorry, Brother Hafiz is not for me yet. And so I think I think Brother Hafiz recommended that I should do the Azan, then why not? So I did a training session with him. We went in one of the rooms at the top, still remember very well, one of the auditorium. And I look at him, take his posture, and he started to project the voice and do the azan. And I was like, wow, mashallah, very nice. And he was teaching me some techniques on how to project my voice and what are the things that I should do. So really do some practice. And then alhamdulillah, a few days later, I was doing the azan for the iftar. So this is how we met. Actually, we met even before sorry, the first time we met was during a masjid visit. We
Masjid
went to
Al Islah
visit.
in Ponggol, the mosque in Ponggol. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And I think Omar
Yes.
Salma as well. Did we go together at this one?
Not Omar Salma, Masjid Al Islah in
No,
Ponggol, and the other one
Pongola.
was
Yeah.
the visit to Sri Mariamman Temple.
Yes. Absolutely, very good memory. So yeah.
Mashallah. Okay, talking about Brother Hafiz game, we're going to get Brother Hafiz up here to share a bit more insight. But before we go, I think Risi should have a very nice comment on losing friends. I think Risi, would you like to share that? I think you have a very nice thing to say.
Sure. I just think that, well, like losing friends through Islam is actually kind of like impossible because we are becoming better and kinder human beings. And like, how can we lose anyone if we become better people? Like you said, when your uncle like offered you alcohol, you gave him a hug and you gave him food and whatnot. Like, how can we lose people by just being nicer to them? It's not really possible, right? But the thing is, like, we only lose people who are secretly ignorant and people who are not willing to give us a chance for us to express our kindness to them. And those people, they were never really friends in the first place. So I don't think we can ever like lose friends through becoming better people. But yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very well said.
That's a
Thank you,
great
Sister
point.
Risti, for that nice touch to the topic on how should we respond to the feeling of losing friends. Okay, Brother Hafiz, yes, welcome. Just want to check. Okay, a bit more about yourself. Share a bit of yourself, and I will understand from Darul Arqam also you teach people new reverts how to solat and to pray, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, I'm very fortunate in life. Something I did not realize when I was young. Of course, when you're young, you don't know why things are like this, right? Um, my late father, right, was a qari. He represented Singapore in the Musabaqah, the Quran reading competition in Malaysia, and this is before I was born, so I don't have much knowledge about that. I just know that he finished second, right, in the year 1965. This is before I was born. So
Oh.
people are telling me your father was a very good qari or that. So as a kid, I was like, okay, what do I know? So the thing is that he taught me to read Quran personally. He personally taught me how to read the Quran. Right? He didn't send me out somewhere to learn Quran and then come back. You were supposed to know how to read Quran. No, he taught me personally. So when I was in primary school, from when I was 6 years old, all the way through primary school, every night from Maghrib to Isha, he would teach me. So by the time I was 11 years old, I had khatam. I finished the Quran at age 11. The
Wow.
khatam ceremony was in my parents' hometown in Muar in Johor, Malaysia. I remember it was the December school holidays. We had the last 1 month of intense training. Me and my cousin. It was my cousin who was 1 year younger than me. So I was 11. He was 10. He came to Singapore to speed up. The two of us would finish the Quran at the same time over in Muar. Right. The year after that, my father passed away. I mean, he was already in ill health because I'm the youngest of 10 siblings. So my father was very old. I was 12. He was 59 already. Right. So he was already in ill health in his 50s. Right. So my siblings are much older than I am. And then, of course, I'm just like any kid in Singapore. Went to primary school, secondary school, went to poly. It was my time in poly that I first got involved in Darul Arqam. This was the year 1992. Can you imagine that? 1992, before
Wow.
Darul Arqam was in Onan Road. It was another place somewhere in Penggate Avenue in Potong Pasir. Right. So that was where I first got involved in the old youth wing. They call it back then. That's why I was very lucky because and that was the first time, because back then you could hardly find any Islamic material or Islamic classes in English. Okay, you go anywhere in Singapore. Imagine the converts back then; it was not easy. Those who could speak Malay, it was a bit easier, but those who did not speak Malay could hardly find anything. Right back then, as I realized, there were only two places in Singapore where you can have Islamic classes in English. Darul Arkam is one, right? Another one is SKML, Singapore Kadalanur Muslim League, a Tamil Muslim Association in Singapore. These were the only two places because there were Indian professionals who are high flyers, right, in the corporate world, right? So they are the ones who can conduct classes in English. So these are the only two places you can have that. Now you have Ustaz Mizi, Safina Institute, and so you can name 10 or 20, easily off the cuff. So back then it was very rare, and that was the first time as a 19-year-old to learn Islamic lessons in English. It was the first time in my life because everything before that, everything I learned about Islam was in Malay. Right? So of course I got hooked. Like I said, I'm enjoying myself because I'm learning Islam for the first time in English. Right? So went through national service and then started working all that. And then in 1997 I went to Scotland. So I had to leave Singapore, right, for the very first time, living alone. That was a challenge because the challenge was that I was in a place where I had no relatives. Right? So then I realized that, hey, I can be anything I want. What if I decide not to do solar? Right? But I was lucky because I was in a town called Aberdeen in the northeast of Scotland, right? Scottish Muslims, right? Scottish Muslims were mainly Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and Arab. right? Arabs from different regions, even Algeria, right? The French-speaking ones. That was my encounter with North Africans, right? So I was lucky because in the mosque they would get me involved. They asked me to do adhan and all that. Also in the university mosque, because many of us are university students, we don't have time to go to the main mosque. So even at the university mosque, I had the chance to become not just a Bilal but also a khatib for Friday prayers. In Singapore, I don't get to become khatib. I was 24 years old. I got to become khatib for Friday prayers over in Scotland. So I was very, very fortunate, right? It's just that I happen to know how to read Quran. I happen to know, but I didn't realize, because I assumed that maybe most Muslims are also like me. They can also read Quran. But that's not the case. I didn't realize all this, right? Until I got older, much older later in life, when okay, so that was my time in Scotland. So my exposure to Muslims were mainly from the Indian subcontinent and Arab Muslims, right? Came back to Singapore, worked again, and then I was a bit of a crazy young man at the time, right? I was still in my 20s. I told myself that I want to be in Europe again. I was not satisfied with whatever I experienced. So this time I went to Germany. After 2 years, I went to Germany.
Wow.
Okay, in Germany, the Muslims are of a different breed again. This time it's Turkish Muslims. Right? I was in a small town. I come from a country of Singapore, which is now 5-6 million people. So okay, back then 5 million, right? So I went to a town where I was. The town had a population of 25,000. You can actually walk from one end to the other. Small European towns. I was in that kind of place. The big difference between my life in Scotland and in Germany is that in Scotland it was all English speaking. Right? That's why I could really help out and do a lot of stuff. But amongst the Turkish Muslims, amongst themselves, they speak Turkish. And so the khutbah, the Friday sermon, was always in Turkish. So for 2 years, and this is 2001, 2003, before we had YouTube and all that. So for 2 years, I didn't get any Islamic knowledge. There was no one to teach me anything because I was in a place where I have hardly any contact. There were only very few Muslims. Right? So the khutbah was in Turkish. So for 2 years, I didn't even get any knowledge. At least if the khutbah was in German, maybe I can understand. No, but it was in Turkish. So amongst themselves is Turkish speaking, but to this foreigner, is German. Yeah. So the only language I get to hear at home, I mean, on campus, anywhere, was always German, and only the mosque I get to hear Turkish. Right. So that was it, and it was difficult because I will tell you this may surprise you. During my time in Germany, I was enjoying myself so much that I thought to myself, maybe if I decide to live here and not live the Islamic life, it's actually okay. But this is where Harold Firdaus happened to ask me what's my favorite verse in the Quran. Right, one of the things,
Yes.
the first thing that came to mind was وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. It happens in a few places, one of which is in Surah Al-Anfal, chapter 8, verse 30. It says, they plot and plan, and Allah plans too. Verily, Allah's plans are the best. Right? You can plan anything you want. You can think that you're in control of this and that, and you want to do anything you want. Yeah, go ahead. Right? Allah will show you something. That's where Allah showed me. That was the other thing is, many people ask me, why didn't I stay in Europe and stay there forever? Right? Somehow things did not work out. I had to come back to Singapore. Then I realized that later, something that my wife shared with me, because my sisters, my siblings told her and didn't tell me, that every day my mom would make dua for me that I come back. So I plan to be there forever. I have a mother back home who makes dua that I come back. Because in my family, there's not much male presence. You must understand that. I have two older brothers, but they are not as loud as me. My third brother also is in Malaysia. He's not here in Singapore. He has 7 children and 5 grandchildren, so he is busy with his own stuff. He's much older than you, by the way. Right? So any male matters is actually me. But as a young man, like I said, what did I know? I thought that I got brothers-in-law and that who should be taking the lead. Right? I mean, as a mother, why would she ask the son-in-law? She wouldn't ask the sons-in-law. She would ask the son. Right? So that's how important it was. And I only realized this when I got older. Then I realized that when my nephews and nieces, one thing also my family knows, that no matter what, I cannot be away forever, because I'm a very loving uncle to my nephews and nieces. I've got 20 of them, by the way. Right? So they know that I'm very attached to them. And also when it's time for them to, the last few years when they got married, engaged, and all that, I'm the spokesperson for the family. Right? So without me, there's no other, because I don't have uncles. My family, both my parents' sides, my parents' siblings and relatives, all that are all in Malaysia. It was my father who moved to Singapore. I mean, my parents moved to Singapore after World War II. My father was a clerk with the British Royal Armed Forces. That's how we all became Singaporeans. So my family, as in my extended relatives, are all in Malaysia. Right? So when I was a bachelor, every Hari Raya, right, my only family is my own siblings. Right? I only have a mom. Our dad passed away a long time ago, right? So there's only mother and other siblings. So the only places I have to visit, I live with my mom, of course, and my sister. So it's only my other siblings that I have to visit. Right? There were no other family members. When I got married, I suddenly have my wife is Boyanese, by the way, Bawianese, a very strong Indonesian sub-ethnic group. So suddenly I have loads of relatives, right? Something that I was not used to before. And suddenly I have to visit so many, this uncle, this aunt, and I don't even know all of them in person by name. I just know that I have so many relatives. People come to me and said, "You're Hafiz, right?" "Oh yeah, yeah." So you are, "Oh, okay, you're this relative," and so on and so forth, right? And I was saying there was no male presence in the family. So when I first got married, I realized something. My in-laws taught me. Again, they don't teach me as in they tell me what to do, but they showed me that whenever, that time my mother-in-law was still alive. So whenever we go there every other Saturday, every time there is prayer time, azan zuhur, azan asar, azan maghrib, azan isha, everything will come to a halt. Everybody will gather together, and one of the men will actually take the lead to become the imam. Yeah, of course, I'm one of them. I know amongst me and my in-laws, we can take turns. Then I thought to myself, this is very good. Then I asked that question: why is it that in my family there's none of this? Then I realized that I've asked the dumbest question I've ever asked to myself, and that's because I didn't do it. I didn't take the lead. I was depending on other people. Yeah. So that's how important my presence in family is, because it is something that I'm needed to actually do. There is no male presence in the family. Right? So I appreciated all these things when I was much older, right? And the other thing about Darul Arqam is that how lucky I am that every single time I come back, they always ask me to do something. Either they ask me to read the Quran in ceremonies, or they ask me to, they just ask me to help out, either befriending or just something that they will ask me to do. Right? So whether I was in Scotland, whether I was in Germany, every time I come back to Singapore, there is something for me to do. It was only I came back for good in 2003, but 2004, that's when I was asked to teach a Let's Pray class. Right. My first impression, my first reaction was, I'm not an ustaz. Okay, I know just now you're calling me ustaz, right? I had to get used to that name because firstly, I'm not, right? I'm from the secular world. Okay. But in recent times, I had to get used to it because not only I'm teaching prayer classes, I'm also teaching Quran. So naturally, people call me that name. And also in terms of the ARS, the Asatiza Recognition Scheme in Singapore, in Tier 1, these are the real Asatiza because they are Arabic speaking, they graduate from Islamic universities, they have Islamic degrees, right? And they have certain things where they actually go through a certain process. They are under Tier 1. For myself and people who teach Quran, people who teach Salah and all that are under Tier 2. So of course, people sometimes refer to us as Ustaz or Ustazah. You have to get used to it. Okay, but that's the reality. So in 2004, when they asked me to teach a Let's Pray class, I said, I know how to lead a prayer, but you don't ask me to teach. I'm not even a teacher at the time. I don't know how to teach someone how to do prayers. They said, no, it's okay. You can do it. You just attend a class. You sit in. That time there was an ustaz, full-time staff was actually teaching a Let's Pray class. So I was asked to sit in, right? So what they did was, eventually this ustaz did not take the class. So at somewhere in the third or fourth lesson, they asked me to take over the class. It was a sabotage. Which was a beautiful thing. It was really a beautiful thing. And from that on, I realized that it's actually not that bad. I can always share. I mean, just teaching how to pray is quite basic. But of course, I gain educational skills, how to teach properly and all that along the way. So it's been 17 years now, right? And not only do I get to teach Salah in Darul Arqam, I'm also a registrar now. Right? I'm also a commercial registrar. I also commercial registrar, and also I'm the Bilal for, as you all know about this, at certain mosques on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings. I am the Bilal for Subuh at the Masjid Abdul Alim Siddiq in Teluk Kurau. On Thursday and Saturday mornings, I'm the Bilal Subuh for Masjid Darul Aman Mosque, the one near Yunus MRT. If you pass by Yunus, if you take the MRT, you pass by Yunus, you see a mosque there. That are the mosque. I also do that on alternate Sunday night. So before this podcast, right, I was doing my Maghrib and Isha Bilal duty, and I rush home to be sure that I'm going to be online before the show actually starts. Right? So I'm just very fortunate that I get to do all these things. And like I said, my plan was to be maybe I don't have to be a Muslim. I can just live there and live there forever, right? But Allah has other plans for me, right? So I can never say that, oh, I did all this because I'm good, no, because that's why people ask me to do these things. No way I'm going to say that. Easily, Allah could have. Allah is Muqallib al-Qulub. He's the turner of hearts. If he wants to switch, he will turn the switch. Something will happen something will happen. So don't underestimate what Allah can do to us, right? Always ask for good things and always ask Him to guide us. You ask for guidance, okay? He is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman, the entirely merciful. Ar-Rahim, the especially merciful. The more we go back to Him, the more we thank Him, the more we are grateful to Him, the more He will give us. So never worry. His plans are always the best.
Mashallah, very beautifully well said, Ustad. Just want to check with you. Okay, of all the things you taught, right? What is there something you like to teach the most? Like you
Oh,
teach Salat, you teach Quran, you teach
yeah,
Adhan.
correct. They're all nice. I mean, I appreciate all of them. But if you ask me for just one where I can describe a bit more, I really love teaching the Sunnah Salah, which I'm teaching on Saturday afternoons. The Let's Pray 1, Let's Pray 2 class in Darul Arqam is a male teaching the males and a female teaching the females, because it's quite basic, right? You need a lady to teach how the ladies how to pray, otherwise they start flapping their wings. So a lady needs to how to pray like a lady. So you separate that. But a slightly advanced class like Sunnah prayer course is where I got to cover the likes of Surah Sunnah Duha and Tahajjud and Hajat and Taubah and Istikharah and Witir and so many others, right? So, and it's a mixed class. So I usually teach a class of like 5 to 10 people for Let's Pray 1. My wife would have, ladies are always more enthusiastic. My wife would teach a class of 10, 15 ladies, right, for Let's Pray 1 and Let's Pray 2 as well. But in my Sunnah prayer course, I have about 40 students. Right? It's an online class. It's about 40 students. So it's a mix of men and ladies. It's a mix of families. Sometimes families come together when we're having it face to face. You have like parents and their children all come together. The parents make sure that their children come for this class and go and learn Salah Sunnah. Right? Because we also know that initially the command for the mandatory daily Salah wasn't 5. We have 5 mandatory daily prayers. Right? You probably know the story of Isra Mi'raj. The initial command was 50 daily prayers. It was Nabi Musa who asked our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, go back to your Lord and ask for reduction, because Nabi Musa knows that we cannot cope with 5, let alone 50. Yeah, it started off as 50. So it came down until it got to 5. Nabi Musa asked for another reduction. This time, Nabi Muhammad SAW was feeling ashamed, right? In Hokkien, we say paise lah. It's not in the hadith, but paise, right? He could not ask Allah for a reduction. But bear in mind, when we are traveling, there's something called qasr and jama'. Qasr is the shortening. Zuhur, Asr, and Isha, which are 4 rak'ah salah, become 2 rak'ah, reduced to 2 rak'ah. And combined, Zuhur and Asr and Maghrib and Isha get to be combined to become back to back within a few minutes. You can actually do them back to back. So there are further reductions from the 5 mandatory daily prayers in certain situations. That's how merciful Allah is to us.
Thanks for sharing that, Ustad. Okay, so what did you teach Brother Bilal? I believe he also came to you for lessons, right?
Yeah, right. Just now we talked about the story of Bilal, right? The story of Bilal ibn Rabah, right? So those are amongst the things you can share in a little azan course, right? In a little azan workshop. Darul Arqam does make me do these workshops before Ramadan, because we always want converts to come forward on Saturday nights, right? When we have of iftar, for a convert to come to the mic and do that. It's not easy, because some of them know how to do azan, but not everybody is as outgoing as as assertive as our Guillaume Bilal here, who can do adhan in front of 200, 300 people, right? People can tremble in their boots. You ask them to do in front of 5, 10 people, they're already trembling. Ask them to do in front of hundreds. It's not always so easy, but the whole idea is they always ask me to get some converts to learn about adhan. So sometimes I conduct a workshop for 30 male converts, right? Maybe 1 or 2 might show up and say, okay, I'm ready to do the adhan in public for Darul Arqam on Saturday nights, right? So that's what they actually ask me to do usually before Ramadan. So the last time I did that was in 2019, and 2020, 2021, of course, we couldn't get to do that anymore.
Oh, that's quite, yeah, that would be amazing to see. I've never go to Darul Arqam here live adhan before. Maybe inshallah, if the pandemic is over, I will go to do that next. Yeah. So talking about the adhan, right? How did you guys learn? How do you teach the adhan? Was Brother Bilal easy for him to pick it up? Is it sounding more French or something?
No, there's always the accent. I mean, no, you may not know this, but if I were to read the Quran or do the adhan in front of Arab people, they will tell me my Malay accent is very strong. Because you might not hear it because you're not that familiar with Arabic, right? But Arabic native speakers will tell me my Arabic is strong. Just like when I speak French, when I was in Germany, if I'm at a bank or something, I speak German, everybody can turn their heads and look at this guy. Like I've never heard a German with a Malay accent. right? So I don't know whether they find it sexy or whether they find it horrible, disgusting that your German is so bad. Sometimes we criticize people for the lack of good English. There was one time I had to, back then I had to make a call to my German teacher, right? So she was living with an elderly lady. So I think I called quite late. It was past 10:30. So on the phone, what else can you do? You don't have something to refer to. So I was struggling with. I was only a few months in Germany trying to speak German. So that lady actually told my teacher later on, just now your student called. His German are horrible. So how do you think? Just like you criticize someone's English, how do you think I felt when the person said, yeah, this guy's German horrible?
So thank you so much for that sharing. To know that it's not easy for someone, especially from a previous cultural background, right, to do something that is originally in Arabic, right, and but still we strive hard to do it well. So now just curious, okay, would you and brother Bilal do a duet on the adhan? Would you be open to doing that live for us to hear the adhan? Inshallah. Okay. Okay, good. So guys, before we go to that, that's the surprise we have for you for tonight. Okay, we're coming to the end of the stream. I see that most of you do not have questions for the live, but I think you probably, inshallah, have benefited a lot from tonight's sharing. Any questions from the panelists before we go to the highlight for tonight? Beautiful sharing. Okay, thank you so much, brother Iskandar. Yeah, he took a vow of silence, so I have to check his messages. All right. So without much further ado, guys. Okay, next week, just to share with you, we'll be talking about heaven and hell. Is it real? So the topic will be about heaven and hell. And so far, we have gone through 10 episodes with you on Shaherald Night Live. So I would say we have come to the end of season 1. Like TV show like that. But next week will be season 2, episode 1 of season 2. But okay, without much further ado, I'm so excited to share tonight's event with you, the adhan done by both brother Hafidz and brother Bilal. So tonight we have a Bilalception, like brother Bilal and a Bilal talking about Bilal and the adhan. Okay, Bilalception. All right, so
That's a lot of Bilal.
yeah. All right, so I'll put you up here and I can't go below. Okay, never mind, it's fine. Okay, we can start. Bismillah.
Okay, Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
حي على الصلاة.
حي على الصلاة.
حي على الفلاح.
حي على
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
لا إله إلا الله.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Thank you so much for the adhan. I can just really imagine myself, all the way. I don't know why, like in a desert somehow with you. I wish, I wish I could go to the desert now. Actually, to Solat, and I seen some of Saiful Rahman's travel when we were at Morocco, and they did Solat in the desert in Morocco. I think wow, that was so beautiful, and I can just imagine you doing the adhan there, and we all doing Solat together. The camaraderie and all that is just so amazing, and the spirit is so strong. Yeah. Thank you so much for tonight, everyone, for tuning in, and for Brother Hafiz for coming here, and Brother Bilal. Inshallah, we'll see you again for more of our live streams. And thank you so much, everyone. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week, inshallah. Wait, Brother Iskandar has something to say. Okay. Okay. Good night.